Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our seminar series, the Trellis Seminar Series for 2022. It's a real pleasure to see so many of you here, and thank you for joining us. This morning for Dr. Beela's session, we have people from Australia, Estonia, Finland, Belgium, India, of course, Ireland, Macau, Peru, Poland, Portugal, Sweden, and the US. So thank you for making time out of your busy day to join us. And we know some of you have had to stay up late or get up early just to be here, and that really means a lot. It's great to see you all. For those of you who don't know Trellis, we're the charity that supports therapeutic gardening in Scotland. We provide information, training, and good practice sharing, and we aim to promote the highest quality therapeutic gardening services so that everyone can get the best out of them. We also encourage garden groups to share experience and for practitioners to be able to share good practice. And we do that through lots of different support services and links and resources, many of which you can find through the links on our website. So do take a look at that. Just to summarize today's session, we're going to have a presentation from Dr. Beela of approximately 40 to 50 minutes. And that's going to be followed by some time for questions and discussion. Please use the chat box if you have questions, and you can put your questions in the chat in writing during the session, and we'll voice them to Dr. Beela at the end, or we might invite you to use the reaction buttons, and you can put your hand up that way using those buttons, and we'll invite you to speak your questions at the end too. We do have closed captions and live transcript enabled. So if you would like to see the subtitles in writing, you can switch that on via the live transcript CC button at the bottom of your screens, or if it's in your way and bothering you, you can switch it off there too. Feedback is really important to us, and we will invite you to fill in a little survey to give us your thoughts at the end of the session. That really helps us to inform our work and to improve these sessions for the future. If you missed the link, we will email another one afterwards, after the meeting, so don't worry too much, but please do give us your responses. And now it's a real privilege to welcome our speaker today, Dr. Beela GK. I'm just going to highlight Dr. Beela so that you can see her. Dr. Beela is going to share her presentation on her screen just shortly. She's been a faculty member at Kerala Agricultural University since 1997. She develops and implies empirical methods in the implementation of horticulture therapy for communities with special needs by bringing together research and philanthropy. Besides her many scholarly articles published in journals, her books include Horticulture Therapy and a Toolkit for ADHD. Her honours include the John Walker's Community Service Award in 2020 from the American Horticulture Therapy Association and the Kavungal Mahila Ratnam Award in 2013. She served as a director of the Centre for Disability Studies, Pujapura, from 2011 to 2016. An expert in child development and advocacy for women, children, and persons with disabilities, she also writes and extends her expertise in horticultural therapy. She has established gardens for children with special needs in more than 20 schools across Kerala. I'll pass you over now to Dr. Beela, who will share her screen and presentation. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. It's a great pleasure to be part of Trellis, and let me extend my gratitude to Fiona, who has been the main coordinator and the organizer. Also, all the members of Trellis, Lona Becker and Jenny Simpson and Joe Cook and all. So today, it's a great privilege to be a part of this Trellis seminar. And the topic that I'll be talking today is about the assistive gardening structures that we use in the horticulture setup. So let me just share my screen. My screen visible? Yeah, okay. So the topic that I'll be discussing today is on the assistive technology garden structures that is used in the horticulture therapy, especially in the garden. So let me just move on to tell you the background of the reason why I had actually had to take up this assistive technology. Because as per the Manual of Disability Statistics of 2012 and the National Sample Survey Organization in 2003, India, there are more than 50 million children with disability. Though they want to do gardening and be part of the horticulture, but there are no any assistive structures or garden structures, specially designed and built for children. That is one reason why there was a need for a work on assistive technology. And horticulture was an area neglected by especially the locomotive disabled or orthopedically challenged children, those who have physical limitations. So let me just tell you what exactly is assistive technology according to us. So according to Robert, any technology that helps an individual with disability to carry out a functional activity is defined as assistive technology. And Vijaya and her co-workers have said that assistive technology in agriculture is the application of ergonomics that can help in increasing the efficiency and therapy productivity of the people with disability. When we come to the concept of horticulture therapy, the operational definition that we have given is horticulture therapy is an interdisciplinary approach to human development that integrates social and behavioral science with horticulture and environment. So this is what we have been, with this concept is what we have been doing horticulture therapy in India, especially in Kerala. That is, it is basically aiming for the development in the person who is working in the garden and to integrate the social and the behavioral science with the horticulture and the environment discipline. So basically the assistive garden structures that we have come up with are rotating pots, hanging pots with pulley, umbrella stand. These are the three major assistive garden structures. So it is based on the requirement, because when we started this program, in 2008, when I started giving horticulture therapy or imparting horticulture therapy in the schools, the biggest gap or the challenge that I found was that the children who were affected with polio and those were orthopedically disabled or challenged, or those were restricted to the wheelchair, it was very difficult for them to come to the garden and be part of the team who are working with horticulture. So there are a number of steps that are followed during the selection of the structure that are detailed. Basically, it is on the information of the skills, the abilities, and the special needs of the children. It was collected like the sample or what the students were undergoing horticulture therapy. Those were locomotor disability or having orthopedic disability. We inquired with them with the questionnaire, what are their special needs if they want to work in the garden. So based on that is what the garden designs or the structure were designed. The user-centered design was used in the study for designing every garden design. So the UCD or the user-centered design is basically a design that is based on actual requirements of the users and comprises of task analysis, prototype development with the users, evaluation, and iterative design. So this study stated 5 objectives. In fact, it was based on a research study that we came up with the structure. The objectives were to identify and prioritize the usability values with users, to match task requirement to design, to remove defects from the design and from the requirements, to test against usability criteria, and to iterate design to continuously improve. So we had 4 phases. In the first phase, this was analysis phase. In this phase, it was to analyze the depth of gardening structures that to be developed, the elements and the criteria of ergonomics needed for the disability were analyzed. In the design phase, the structures were designed based on the elements and requirements mentioned by the children with disability selected in the study, And in the implementation stage, the design was implemented into working system, ready to be used based on the received feedback from actual users. And of course, certain modifications were carried out based on the feedback that we received. And in the evaluation phase, the structures were once again evaluated by the user and the usability test was also carried out. So based on that, in the evaluation, what involved was that usability testing was done for each structure. And the qualitative data from 20 real users performing real tasks were collected after usability testing. The structures that were rated as user-friendly and ergonomically helpful has been reported in the study. Because several structures were designed, but not all of them were ergonomically suitable or reported as user-friendly by the sample. So then we had to just remove those for the final design or to make the prototype. So in the usable testing, 20 physically challenged children with locomotor disabilities participated. And we asked them to complete the task on the prototypes. Observing them, they interacted with the prototype and discussed the accessibility issues with them. So let me now show you the major structures, the assistive garden structures that we have developed. The first one is the rotating pots. There is a ball bearing in the center, and you can, in fact, have 4, 6, 8, up to 12 in a rotating stand, where each holder can take one pot. So the idea is that a child or a person in wheelchair can just come next to this, and being in the wheelchair, he can use or he can access to all the pots by just rotating them. So this is actually making the mobility easier for a person or making the gardening more accessible for a person who is in the wheelchair or is not able to move around more or has a difficulty in mobility. So this is one rotating pot. So the thing that we have been doing is basically in this rotating pot, one of the method or the technique that we have been using is watering the plants using a sponge. So as you all know that in physiotherapy, when an autism child has got a rigidity in her in fingers or using the fingers, their fine motor skills are not up to the counterparts, or they have a delay in the fine motor skills, also in the gross motor skills. So what normally a physiotherapist guides or suggests is that to have a soft ball in the hand and to squeeze it. Here, what we do is instead of giving a soft ball, we give them a sponge, and the child or the person holds a sponge, dips the sponge in the water, and he squeezes the sponge. So basically, he is watering the plants. He's watering the plants, but even simultaneously, physiotherapy is happening. So when you say physiotherapy is complementing horticulture therapy, this is what we do to improve the motor development, especially the gross motor development and the fine motor development. Now coming to the next one is the structure hanging basket with pulley. This is just a model. You can use it anywhere. So this is to show you that suppose a person is again limited to the wheelchair and he has restricted spaces or has space constraint, can use hanging pots using a pulley. So with the help of the pulley, the pots can come down and he can use it, he can water it, maintain it, and then again he can tie it maybe on a side like a road which is fixed here. And it is also helping them to make it more accessible. So this is one of the aim or objective of hanging basket with pulley. Another objective is just like how an autism child cannot tie a shoelace. They find it difficult to tie a shoelace. So what we do here is we teach them, or effortlessly, without effort, or happily, or what you say, without any pain, the child learns to tie when the child is bringing down the rope down, and maybe when he raises the pot he can tie. So here there are two methods. This method is basically aiming for accessibility as well as to give gross motor and fine motor skill training for children with autism. Another structure is the umbrella stand structure. I have just shown the structure. The climbers can be planted and the climbers can be spread in the structure, but I just want to show you this is a structure. This is again, the aim is for making it more accessible, especially for the plants and vegetables which are in the climber's nature. So if you ask for the the descriptors of the structures, it was shown that it was more reliable, functional, easy to use, the force exerted from the structure, it was more safe, it had no pain, no blisters, feels comfortable to use, no peak pressure on hand or leg, no body part discomfort, it's comfortable working posture, it gives a comfortable working posture, and it is a solid design. So these are basically from the questionnaires or from when we did the evaluation, the feedback that we got from the children and adults who were limited to the wheelchair. So descriptors such as reliable, functional, easy to use are most related to comfort in using the structures, and descriptors such as solid design, professional look, styling, and nice colors are less related to the comfort. But even then we had taken some, their opinions and their feedback on the styling and the color and the professional looks. So then we did the usability test for rotating pot. We had two groups, that is wheelchair bound and the crutches bound. And if you look at it, you can see the difference with comfort to water the plants, in precision, effectiveness, efficiency, productivity, grip comfort, grip friction. And when it comes to physical interaction, it was durability, multifunctioning, handle shape for rotating, the handle size for rotating, all this, how they're satisfied with these structure is what we did in the usability test about its attractiveness, about its craftsmanship, shape, color, texture, and design. Also the criteria like, this is again for the, I'm not able to see the, types of pots. We had different types of pots were used for the hanging pots by the clay pots, the fiber, the plastic, and also used by coir. So based on that, we could see the differences that, how people also had the choices for the pots. So we had pots made of coir, plastic, ceramic, bamboo, and metal. And we had usability test for umbrella stand structure, even the same attributes like reliability, functional, easy to use, whether it's safe, whether it was more comfortable, whether this handle was slippery, easy to harvest. Because basically in the umbrella stand, easy to harvest is what most of them gave the feedback, because it was the umbrella stand was, the height was so, it was very ergonomic for the person, especially those who are in the wheelchair. So as I want to conclude, what I would say is that these three assistive structures have been developed, namely the rotating hanging pots with pulley and umbrella. The technology of the prototypes developed in this study can be transferred to other schools where horticulture therapy is implemented, not only in India, but I'm so happy that I have, a lot of participants from several countries. So this can be, in fact, spread or scaled up to other countries as well. And it can motivate children, especially them who take up agriculture as an occupation. And further research is, of course, required to develop more and lower technologies as well as high technology assistive structures for the children with locomotor disability, so that they can take horticulture as a profession. And also that, as we all know, I think all of them who are in this field are aware of it, that horticulture therapy has got immense benefits and it can in fact transform a person's life. So with this, I thank you all. If there is any questions, we can go on for a discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Beela. It was really fascinating to have a glimpse of what's going on in gardens and schools in Kerala, there on the other side of the world from us right now. We do have some questions, so I'm going to invite Jenny to, is it Jenny or Lorna? Jenny, to voice those to you now. And I have a few myself, but I think we've got lots of time for questions. So over to Jenny.
Thank you. Beela, we have a question from Natalie in our audience, and she asks, what is the ratio of children to adults in the garden at the same time? And is play the focus of these sessions?
Yeah, the ratio, what we had is 1:10. 1:10, but then when it comes to, it is in the beginning we need, it is 1:10, but after a certain period, say it is not necessary, then they can do it on their own. So it is like after 3 months, the ratio can change. It can be 1:20. So initially we needed, like, if you ask me, it depends. It's not always the same in every place and every schools, because we were doing it in schools where there were resource teachers, special teachers, that's a special educate. They have a bachelor's of education in special education. So with their help, we used to in fact reach to these children. But in certain school, depending upon the intensity or the gravity of the disability, we need the ratio changes. But then even then, on an average, it is 1:10 in the beginning, and later I think it can be 1:30 or even more than that, because once the children are into the horticulture therapy garden, they can do it themselves. If they are in the wheelchair, they can just do it on their self. It's not necessary that need an assistance always, but initially, of course, they need.
Yeah.
Is play the focus? Yes, play is also play is not just the focus, because we tell them, see, the two things that we give is, one is the vocational skill that they attain through the gardening, learning to garden and how to cultivate the plants and to yield and to protect, etc. So one is a vocational skill they develop, and the second one is the therapeutic skill. So of course the play method is used in it, but play is not the main focus. It is basically to empower the children who are having disability, physical disability, so that they can live their life on their own. That is to sustain their life on their own. So this is one of the objective, but of course the second objective is to give them some therapeutic benefits as well.
Lovely. Fiona, you have a question yourself.
Yes, please. Dr. Beela, when we were talking before, you mentioned some of the outcomes for the children, some of the results of working in the garden with some of these technologies and just being in the garden. And of course, although the technologies were designed to enable more physical access, of course, many of the results and outcomes you saw were emotional and social and intellectual. Could you tell us a little bit more about those outcomes, what you saw?
Yeah, so in fact, what we have been focusing on is we're focusing on the social intelligence and the emotional intelligence using the standard scales like the SMS, etc. So what we have been giving, not only these the structures were actually to make it more accessible, but we had some techniques like hugging the tree. There was a tree where the children can come and hug for maybe for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever duration of time they feel like. So this hugging the tree and the plant meditation, the tree meditation, where they they visualize themselves as a tree. These were in fact helping the children to develop their emotional intelligence. So these are the techniques that there are plenty of techniques that we have been giving, like emotional freedom technique, and everything inside the garden, everything was In fact, we were giving a lot of thrust on the people-plant connectivity. So based on that, these benefits, they're immense, especially emotionally, they were becoming more stronger. Children with autism, parents reported that their aggressiveness was coming down. So let me just tell you one example of how we, guide them to plant meditation or tree meditation. In tree meditation, the children are, it's just like how you do the mindfulness and normal meditation. They're asked to keep their eyes closed, and they're asked to visualize or imagine themselves as a tree. So the body becomes a tree, and your legs becomes a root, and the body, the trunk, and the branches are the hands, and the thoughts are the fruits. The fruits are the thoughts. So this is how they become. So they just initialize themselves to be a tree. And if it is a stormy day, whether it is a sunny day, whether it is a rainy day, the tree has no complaints. The tree is very strong. So this is how we lead them to develop their self-esteem. So the child is actually becoming one with the tree and, starts behaving like a tree, a strong tree. And even if the leaves shed, it doesn't worry because it is very sure that the leaves will come back again. This gives them the self-esteem and the self-confidence that no matter what, come what may, things will happen better. Even if I lose, it's fine. I'll gain again. So these kind of basically to improve their self-confidence, improve their self-esteem, these kind of techniques have really helped. So emotionally and physically, of course, I told you most of the activities when they enter into the garden, it definitely brings a lot of changes in the physical development, in the muscular development, etc. But definitely it has changed tremendously the emotional intelligence in them, especially they made them more self-confident. And social intelligence and the socially, they have started because we work in teams, so they interact with one another, interact with plants and interact with trees. So this also have the eye contact in autism children has developed a lot. So these are the major benefits I could really recollect now because there are a lot of benefits. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Do you think the meditative practice that you've introduced was more likely, and because of being in India with the tradition of meditative traditions there, or do you think you would have brought that in because of your own interest in the area?
Actually, though, India meditation is from India, but unfortunately, not every Indians are doing meditation every day. Not necessary. It's the meditation originated from India. Yoga originated from India. But not as a curriculum. Now, recently, after the declaration of the International Year of Yoga, people have started realizing it. Of course, when I started in 2008, and since I practice yoga and meditation, I learned about this tree meditation, which is there already. It is not something which I discovered or I initiated. It is already there in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So I just inculcated into this, into this stream and into horticulture therapy. And I found a lot of difference in children. So that's how it
Lovely, thank you, Beela. We have a follow-up question from Carla, who is in Portugal, and she would like to ask you about the involvement of families in developing some of these things that you have been doing. Do you get lots of family involvement?
Yeah, you mean whether the family is part of this program, isn't it? The parents.
Yes.
See, there is one thing. There is a child-centered technique in this program. Yeah. So we say that we give the support to the child. As the institute, we give the child support to the child to grow the plants, and the child gives the support to the parents by giving the yield. That means the child doesn't have any focus on the yield. The child is growing spinach or the child is growing tomato, but the yield goes to the parent. So parents not necessarily need to come to the institute where we are giving horticulture therapy, but parents are involved, especially when the yield is taken home, it goes to the parent as a gift. So the parent is motivated when the child brings some kind of yield of what he has grown, and that supports that actually motivates the parents to support the child again, and the child again supports the plant. So this is a cycle that we have developed, and of course the families are involved, not on a day-to-day life, day-to-day activity basis, but we do have, like, after 3 months or 6 months, we have a meeting with the parents to know whether it is really helping them. And if we find that the child is not interested in gardening or with plants, we don't force them. And if the parents also feel that there is not much improvement happening, I think we can, in fact, deviate the person's interest into something else. But mostly 99% of the children who have come to our garden, they have not left us. Of course, one incident is that he was not very comfortable with the mud or the soil. So then we gave him all indoor activities. In fact, we didn't have the facility of giving hydroponics at that time, but then we encouraged him to sit inside. Indoor activities were given to him. So parents' participation and parents' involvement is really good to get promising results, but not always necessary. I mean, it's not necessary on day-to-day basis. You need to keep a follow-up maybe in 3 months' time, once in 3 months, that will be.
Sure. Thank you. And does your program operate in mainstream schools?
Mainstream schools, of course, we when we did this program, there are 14 districts in Kerala. Kerala is a state in India, and we have 14 districts. So we selected, with the help of the Department of Education, we selected one school each in every district. That is the government school. This government school is up from the grade 1 to grade 12.
Okay.
Where not all schools, the differently able children or students are enrolled. Only certain schools we have students who are with disability are enrolled. So we selected the schools where children are enrolled with special needs, and those schools we set up the model garden, and we also gave training for the resource teacher. So it was basically the mainstream school where there were inclusive education. So it was not special education school. It was a school where the children are doing the normal education, and these were part of the curriculum. And of course, not for all the children, but only for the children who need special needs.
Thank you. That answers our question. Thanks. Now, I think we have a question about what the children prefer to grow. Do they prefer to grow vegetables or flowers, or what do you find as their preferences?
Yeah, so even that is it is individual interest. See, not all the children love vegetables.
Yeah.
Most of them, they loved flowers, but they enjoyed cultivating vegetables. Okay. It's not that they only love flowers or they only love vegetables. They love flowers and they wanted flowering plants. But what we did is, the flowering plants were common for all. I mean, it was for all. Everyone can come and water it. But the vegetables we gave to individuals. See, like 10 vegetables was for one person. So what they had to do is, they had to name the plants. Say, for example, the boy's name is Robert. He names a plant, say, Hichu Robert, Chachu Robert, or something like that. Along with his name, he used to name the plants. So it could be a okra plant, but they don't call it as an okra, but they would say, oh, my chachu is blossoming, my chachu is, flowering. So this is how we gave the vegetable plants to the children. So they got connected to the plants. by giving the names, etc. So I think the children loved vegetables because of the yield, but they enjoyed flowering plants. So I think both are equally essential in the horticulture therapy.
Yeah. And do you do any extension activities with your produce? Do you cook with it, or do any crafts with the what you grow in the garden?
Yeah, we do. We have extensive craft activities. We make use of the plants waste, or we can say the like the leaves and the bark, etc. We used to convert it into a useful, like recycle and reuse kind of thing. And children used to come up with such wonderful crafts. And cooking was, of course, only once in a year, not quite often, but we have, because I work in the Department of Community Science in the Agriculture College, where we are offering, in fact, the PG course Food Science and Nutrition, and we have a laboratory, Food Science Lab. So it was very easy for them to access and do it. But of course, but it was not a frequent process. Only once in a year we had a cooking session. But craft and many other plant-based activities was mostly done in indoors.
Lovely, thank you. And Ella says she thinks your inventions are really cool. She said they're cool. And can you give examples of any other things that you've adapted? And perhaps we could open this up to the audience as well.
On what basis? I mean, techniques?
She really enjoyed seeing the examples of the things that you'd invented to support the children. Were there other inventions and adaptations that happened in the project?
Tools, for example, tools and techniques.
Tools and techniques. Okay. So in fact, let me tell you the techniques. Let me first tell you the techniques. The techniques that we did was, we had techniques in every stages. Like the main aim for giving this technique, it would be to develop their cognitive skills, or to develop their social skills, or to develop their language skills, etc. So say, for instance, if you want to, if a boy is on a speech therapy, or is, constantly in touch with a speech therapist. So, and what we do is we ask him to hold the water for some time, like maybe for 10 minutes, to hold the water, and he spits to the plants, not to the vegetable plants, but to the grass and the other things. So that it is actually complementing speech therapy.
Sure.
And then, as I told you, there is in every section we are implementing. We are having some techniques. Say, for example, when we are having soiling, when they are or repotting and potting, even there, as I told you, the naming the pots or naming the plant with another name, with a pet name, that itself is a great technique to develop their self-concept and their self-confidence, as well as a responsibility. See, that especially the children, they are, if you have worked with children with disability, you'll realize that they are very dependent. They're very dependent on others. So here, I'm not sure about how it is in UK, but here children, they become very dependent from childhood. So the first thing is that we make them feel that you are responsible for another life. The plant has life, the plant has got consciousness, the plant has to survive, and this plant is in your hand. So when the child realizes that, so far I have been dependent on somebody else, but from today, a plant, another life is dependent on me, that makes the child very responsible, and he takes care of the plant, and he ensures that the plant survives. So this is actually a very good technique to improve their self-confidence. I can just give you one simple example, or an incident, which really would be, motivating others who are working on this area. There was a school, of course it was not a school, it was a rehabilitation center, where 28 plus adults were working with horticulture therapy, and most of them were intellectually disabled. So once we used to give every person 10 pots or 10 grow bags, 10 plants or saplings, and they're responsible for that. So one day we go there and we say that 10 plants at the stretch is missing. So when I inquired what is the reason for this plants getting, it is missing and where has it gone? So we realized that plants were in fact, we had allotted to a person called Shivan Kuti. He was 28 plus and he was with a mental age of 4 plus or 5. That's all. He was an intellectually disordered child. An adult. So when he came, I asked him, where is your plants? What happened to your plants? So he said, it was raining yesterday. So I thought, what has rain and this missing of the plants have any connection? So he said, when it was raining, I felt that my plants would fall sick. So I have taken them all indoors in my room. So this is the kind of connection they get if you really make them feel that the life of the plant is in your hands. So this is what we develop, self-responsibility or increase their responsibility. This is one technique. So I think I have told, I'm speaking too much about this responsibility thing. So let me come to some other techniques. So these are all, there are so much techniques to speak. I think I have written a book on it. Maybe we can, share it like that, because to talk, there are so much.
It sounds very powerful, your techniques. That's lovely. Well, can I switch it in with a question about funding and who delivers the training in your gardens? Is it how does that work with your project?
I didn't get you. Can you just repeat the question?
Sure. Who funds the
funding?
School?
Yeah. Okay.
Funding. Who funds the school garden?
Funds the program. Okay.
Yeah.
So actually we are fortunate because initially when I started this program, we had funding agencies like State Horticulture Mission and all Indian agencies, like we had all government agencies in fact. But we are fortunate that by 2019, the Minister of Agriculture of Kerala, Advocate Sunil Kumar sir, it was brought to his notice about this program, and he showed good interest on that, and that's how he funded the government fund came to us, and we could reach out to all the districts, and that's how we could.
Yeah.
Even now, fortunately, there is no debt for funds to do this program. It all comes from the government. From the government. Yeah.
From government, so it's centrally funded. Thank you. That's lovely. And do you have to train teachers, or do you have specialists that go out and do the gardening? How does it work?
Yeah, so we, in fact, for every project, when we had this project for 14 districts, I had around 8 project fellows. That's what the term designation they have, or we can say research associates. They're all postgraduates. We have 2 groups. One group is specialized in agriculture, and the other group is specialized in psychology, counseling psychology, or child development. That is developmental psychology. So we have 2 groups of people working together. One group takes care of the garden aspect. The other group takes care of the therapeutic aspect. So this is what, of course, since they're all youngsters who come for working with the project, and since this is not a permanent job, the project fellows, it's not a permanent job. The challenges that I face is that when they get another job, they normally leave the project and go. So then I have to replace with another person. So, but then, that is a challenge. But forcefully, I have never asked a person to leave. But whenever the person gets a better opportunity, then they leave and we replace. But once because since you're working in a team, it is okay even if one person leaves, the other person come in and they can learn it in maybe in a month's time. So this is how we don't change. Intentionally, we don't change it. Changes happen because they get better jobs, or maybe they get a permanent job.
Okay, thank you. Someone wants to ask about these project fellows. Is it a paid post, or is it voluntary? How?
No, it was paid. It was all paid because we had both. I had tried with both because if in some places, like in schools, there are parents who work voluntarily, but I have always realized that only those who have worked with payment and salary, I could get really the what we wanted. I mean, volunteers. Of course, I'm not saying that because volunteers sometimes they are not very consistent. They're
Yes.
not consistent. So then I always preferred for research fellows who worked in the college or in the university. And when we are doing extension, that is when we were extending this to different schools and to different institutes. See, here in Kerala, every school there is a parents association.
Okay.
There is a group of parents who are together, and we have parents association for intellectually disabled. We have parents association for autism. So I am in touch with all this association. I think there are more than 50 associations in Kerala itself, and I'm in touch with most of the associations. And whenever we need voluntary help, I put on, I mail it to them, or put the message through WhatsApp, and definitely when we want to extend it, it definitely happens with the help of volunteers, parents, when they come as volunteers.
Yeah, and can I ask the rate of pay for your project workers, is that on a par with teachers, or is it less? How does it work? Where is it in the scale of pay?
See, as I told you, here it is. It's not a permanent job so far. We're working as horticulture therapy project, so it is little lesser than the school teachers and the college professors, but not par with the college professors. But it was almost say like if you look at it, like maybe we say in lakhs. College teacher gets in 1 lakh per month, and the school teachers may be getting 50,000 or 60,000, and we are able to give our special teachers like 22,000 per month.
Okay,
this is
thank
how,
you. Yeah, that's where it is in that scale. Okay, thank you. I'm going to invite Fiona to voice her question. Fiona.
Thank you. Beela, recently when we were talking before our presentation today, you mentioned something really interesting about the duration of a therapeutic program for a child and results. And you had something interesting to tell me there about how long it took before you started to see results. Would you extrapolate and say more?
So in 2012, when I started with the school, giving horticulture therapy, we had intervention for 3 months, and then we did post-evaluation, especially in BSMS, that is social intelligence, and also in motor development. We use BOT, the scale for assessing the motor development. But let me tell you, after 3 months, we found no changes. No changes, not even a single child. After 3 months of horticulture therapy here, I didn't find any change. After 6 months, yes, significant change, but not prominent changes. But after 1 year, you can find changes, which is really, which is, prominent. So I think if you really want a child to get some changes in whatever limitation he has, it could be emotional, it could be cognitive, but we have to give this horticulture therapy, has to impart it at least for 1 year. That is a minimum period that I have found, because less than 1 year, I didn't find much changes. I'm talking about not just, physical changes or just by seeing. I'm talking about the data, taking the pre-data and the post-data. After every 3 months, we used to take the post-data and check with the preliminary ones, and we found that only after 1 year, we found some changes. So now I don't do, after 3 months, we don't do any, assessment. We do an assessment after 6 months, and then after 6 months. So half yearly, we do assessments. Quarterly, we don't do assessment because we are aware that it doesn't make any changes.
Thanks. It's great to have that data to justify funding and commitment of resources for a longer period, because many projects over the world will have the same sense of fragility and short-term funding. So it's great. Your data is going to help make the case, I think, around the world for longer, more resources and longer-term programs.
So I really, advocate that it is minimum 1 year program is required, whether it is children or adult or old age. Of course, if they are not able to continue with us for more than 6 months, that's another scenario. But then I would suggest that if you really want to give a program, horticulture therapy program, it should be minimum 1 year.
Beela,
maybe it's not always feasible, but then if you really want to find remarkable changes, then 1 year is what has happened in India in our study.
Okay.
And so now we always take only 1 year study. We don't go for anything below 1 year. We take 1 year project, that is what, not 6 months or 3 months. Initially I had done that, but then I realized that it is a failure, so minimum 1 year.
Yeah. Lovely, thank you. And how often would the children be in the garden? Is that every day or once a week, or how often do they get to garden?
See, let me tell you, we were working with two different types of group. That is, one is the school children and one is the children, the adolescents, that is after school. See, here what happens is, normally children, those are differently able, they can study up to 12th standard. 12th grade they can study. From grade 1 to 12th they can study in any school. There is no harm, or there is no rules and regulations or norms that are actually hindering them to study. But after the 12th grade, they have to enter a college or a university where they will find it difficult to join. So what happens is, in the school, when they are in the school, when I gave this 14 district school project, it was like Monday to Friday, because Saturday, Sunday is a holiday. So Monday to Friday, 10 to 4, they are in the school, and they spend in garden in the morning 1 hour, and maybe evening a half an hour. So this is 1.5 hour every day they spend in the garden. That is for the school going children. But for the adolescents, that is after the schools, they don't have any center or institution as per to do gardening. So these children used to come to our college. We had just 20 students coming to our college who used to spend their time from 9:30 to 2:30. There, from 9:30 to 11:30, they are in the garden and doing the garden activities. 11:30 to 1, they do indoor activities. Then they have lunch, and after that, they do some relaxation methods, relaxation techniques, and they leave. So this is how we have made a time schedule for both groups. Okay. So if you say the adolescent, they take more time. They spend more time. They come to our college, that is College of Agriculture, and they spend time with us. The other is in the school. In the middle of the curriculum, we are inculcating this program, minimum 1.5 hours per.
Okay, thank you. That's really interesting to know. And because of the success of your program in Kerala, is it going to be extended to other regions in India?
Fortunately, just 1 week back, I could meet the Deputy Managing Director of NABARD, that is a central funding bank for agriculture. So we were having a discussion and to scale up this to other states in India, so that we can give master's training program in our university. So that is in pipeline. That project is just, it's in the pipeline. We would definitely like to scale it up and take it to other states in India, so that even other states can have horticulture therapy delivered to children with disability. So that is my desire as well as my aim.
Very good. We wish you well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jenny.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Beela. It's been fascinating to have an insight, a glimpse into all the work you're doing in Kerala, and I'm so glad I found you, because it was really just a kind of internet search, and I guess a gamble for both of us to discuss and see if this could work, and it's been really fascinating. We've had lots of people saying thank you in the chat, and really interested in what you're saying. And there is just one last question that I think I could sneak in, if that's okay with everyone. One of the students, I think it's possibly one of your students, Dr. Beela, asking if there are any opportunities at Trellis for Indians who have graduated in horticulture therapy. Gosh, that's not a question for you, is it? That's a question for us. The answer to that question would be possibly not at Trellis, because our work is quite boring. We stay in an office all day doing, well, it's not boring, but we produce training courses and information resources. We're not really out in the field working with people who could actually benefit from therapeutic gardening, unless we get to go out and do an advisory field visit. But we would be happy to try and be a go-between to arrange possibly an internship or some kind of work placement or exchange with one of the nearly 500 projects in our network. So if you would like to email us, we could discuss that for sure. But there's nothing formal at the moment. So I
think that was from one of our students. We have India. In India, Kerala Agricultural University is the first university to offer a course, postgraduate diploma in horticulture therapy. So it just commenced on 5th. It's just 2 days, yeah.
Wow.
So on 5th, it was the students registered, and fortunately we have some students doing horticulture therapy course. So once they finish this 1-year course, they will be equipped to deliver horticulture therapy for many communities, including the differently able, the cancer patients, the multiple sclerosis patients, and Alzheimer patients, etc. So of course, they're looking forward to go probably to places where more horticulture therapy is. There are takers for that. Here now it is too early, or what I say is not many people are aware of this profession even. So that's why that question has come from one of my students. I think it should be Satish who has asked this question, who is so passionately studying or has joined for this course, horticulture therapy.
Satish, I wish we could offer you more. You, in some ways, you're ahead of us in many European countries by having a postgrad diploma, because we are just trying to get that sorted out here. We've had, in the past, we've had various courses, and yeah, but it hasn't always been fully supported and continuous. So I think huge congratulations to you in setting that up, and certainly we would be happy to try and be the conduit for arranging some kind of postgraduate experience or professional experience, but there's nothing formal in that sense. So and some of the people here who run projects maybe might want to get in touch with you afterwards if they have something to offer.
Sure. So any information required to run a project, I'm ready. You can just mail it to me. Any details requiring, from my experience and caliber, whatever information that can be transferred, it's definitely can be done. That's great. I think it will be pleasure for me, because I want this horticulture therapy or the people-plant connection to reach out to many.
Great. And we have our resources. We do have a setting up a project guidebook, and we have lots of resources on the website. So I hope they'll also be useful to you. And let's exchange our resources with you in the Indian community. Yeah. I'm going to sneak in another question because Deepa has her hand up.
Hi, if I'm allowed to add something to it, I know Dr. Beela from my college days. She was always a smart, considerate, and a giving person. And we are proud of her. And the work she has done for her community, it was a great achievement. And I'm really proud to say that she's my friend. It was so good to attend this. And thanks to Trellis for organizing this. Well done, Beela. Well done, Trellis.
Thank you, Deepa. Deepa is right now from, I think you are from UK right now, right?
Yeah, I live in London now. I am in London, yes.
Wow. Well, we've been honoured to have Beela speaking with us, and isn't that nice to hear? That's really great to hear, and it matches our experience of working with you. So it's been a real honour. Okay, I'm going to bring the question and answer session to a close. And I would like to invite you all to express your appreciation to Dr. Beela using your reaction buttons, or just unmute and give it some applause. Thank you, Beela. It's been fascinating.
Thank you once again.
They're deafening.
It's a nice pleasure to see you all and to get connected to you. So once again, I thank Trellis for organizing such a wonderful webinar, connecting people from different continents. So that was a wonderful thing that you've done. See, we have a term called Vasudeva Kudumbakam. That is, the term Vasudeva Kudumbakam means one world family.
Okay, yeah, lovely. That's hopefully what this week will be.
So I think your program has aimed in one world family. All the members of this family, I think, are all plant lovers, and we connect.
That's true. We have that in common, and many other things. Thank you.